Don't be fooled, and under no circumstances should you underestimate the crazy old commissar, Bernie Sanders. Well, when he's trying to figure out how to run for the office of president while also having to sit in a Senate impeachment on President Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders managed to make some time for CBS News to give an interview. Now, even though his answers are easily lampooned, don't be fooled. Don't think that if somehow this guy becomes the nominee, it becomes a slam dunk election process for the president.
You are a self-proclaimed socialist.
Democratic, put in there, please.
Thank you. Your agenda has promised free health care for everybody, free college tuition, and to pay off people's college loans. The price tag for that is estimated to be $60 trillion over 10 years, correct?
Well, look, we have political opponents
You don't
who
know.
come up.
You don't know how much your plan costs?
You don't know. Nobody knows.
Now, I realize to reasonably thinking people, which would exclude anyone that identifies themselves as a Democrat or a libloon, you would think, well, that makes absolutely no sense. Who on earth would support that? Well, he can't even explain how he's going to pay for it. Let's remember, these are the same people that how many decades ago did Nancy Botox Pelosi, with a straight face, actually look at America and say about Obamacare, oh, you don't need to read anything about it before we vote on it. Just let us vote on it. And then you're going to love it.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Well, they rammed it through in the dark of night. We got stuck with it. And guess what? Nobody loved it. And now you've got Bernie Sanders saying, hey, listen, people need this. They need the free health care. They need the student loan to go away. They need this. It doesn't matter what it's going to cost. It doesn't matter. Nobody knows what that is anyway. You're not going to know in 10 years what things are going to cost. Nobody knows that. We'll figure out a way to pay for it. You do realize that the government takes in approximately $3 to $3.5 trillion per year in tax revenue. So just take the conservative estimate at what the Sanders bill is going to cost. I mean, free health care, free education, free. You're talking about you would literally have to double the tax revenue just to keep up with the conservative estimates. And he is right. We don't know what things are going to cost in 10 years. Guess what? They're going to cost more than they do now. Well, Shazam, Batman. In fact, he actually said, do you know how much this is going to cost if we do nothing? It's going to cost even more. You're being a little disingenuous there, Bernard. First of all, that doesn't mean it's going to cost the government more. And again, if you guys would enact real healthcare reform, you know, let's take down the barriers so that insurance companies can actually compete across state lines. In other words, let that process that has brought about every great innovation in this country, and yea, even around the world when it's been allowed to, the free market capitalist system, competition, you let healthcare providers have to compete with one another for those dollars, and magically, cost will begin to come down. You know, it's as simple as going to small town America. And I guarantee you, a small town that has one gas station, the people there pay a little bit more than in the town next to them. But if their town has, say, 2 gas stations, or even 3 gas stations, all of a sudden, gas prices begin to go down. Why? It's this thing called competition. I live in a town, I don't even know how many gas stations we have. It is funny. We have 2 major exits in our town off of the interstate, and the gas stations right around the interstate exits, it's about 10 to 15 cents more per gallon at those gas stations than if you drive a couple of miles into town. In fact, I've got a gas station in town that is consistently about 20 cents a gallon cheaper than every other gas station in town. Well, guess where I buy my gas? Now, obviously, people going up and down the interstate, they get off quick, they just want to get gas, get back on. So they'll pay a little more. People that know where to go find the gas get a better deal. Competition creates the opportunity to lower pricing. So do the real reforms that are needed in healthcare, Bernie, and magically the healthcare costs will come down. By the way, most of you like to pride yourself whether you're going to buy a car, buy a TV, buy a new computer. You price check. You go online, you kind of look out, see what things are going to cost, and then you make your purchase accordingly. One of the reasons that Amazon has been able to convince us to go back to the days of the Sears and Roebuck catalog and the Wells Fargo wagon, because really, what is Amazon.com? It's glorified mail order. That's all it is. Point, click, and they'll ship it to your door. Why do we do it? Because now we can get things shipped usually within 24 hours, 48, depending on where you live. And it's so much cheaper. It's just cheaper. You can even buy your car online now and have it delivered to your driveway. This is where we're at now. We do this with everything but healthcare. If you have to go to the doctor, if you have to have an operation, a procedure, do you know up front what it's going to cost? No. Wouldn't it be something if hospitals, like stores, had to actually disclose up front what they were going to charge, where you actually could shop around, where you could get that operation for the best possible price, and that insurance companies would shop that for you, giving you options, giving you more control. Again, that whole concept of government-controlled healthcare sounds great, doesn't it? Till you take a trip to the DMV. Most people would rather have root canal without Novocaine than have to go to any government agency and stand in line for anything. Think about how inefficient the post office is, which is why companies like FedEx and UPS thrive. Now imagine your healthcare experience becoming like a trip to the Department of Motor Vehicle. Take a number, stand in line. Look at how awful the VA was before President Trump. Again, one of those things that he gets zero credit for. It was President Trump who said, this is ridiculous. We have veterans that are dying while waiting for health care. So what did he do? Streamline the whole process. If you're a vet with proper ID, you can go to any doctor, any medical care facility, get the help you need, we'll pay for it. Boom. Shazam. Look at what's happened for the VA benefits for our veterans. Competition's a wonderful thing. And I said all that to say this. When Bernie says, it doesn't matter what it's going to cost, we got to do it. He went on to say in that interview that the whole secret to this election is going to be turnout, turnout, turnout. Now, we understand that the Democratic establishment is working very hard to make sure that, once again, Bernie is not the nominee. But that said, Crazy Joe is sounding more and more crazy, even to establishment Democrats, that it's very obvious the guy's got dementia, and he is damaged goods over this Ukraine business and his son Hunter. So, should Bernie actually become the nominee? Of course, you know, he's delusional when he said in that interview, and if you look at the national polling right now, I'm 7 points ahead of Donald Trump. Yeah, that isn't going to happen in the actual election. But there are enough young people in this country who have spent a lifetime living off others. They've lived off mom and dad. They live off student loans. They live off everything and anything but themselves, their own hard work, their own accomplishment. I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. Now, there are exceptions. But for the most part, we have a generation right now. They haven't had to produce anything, and yet they've been given everything. They got the latest, greatest cell phone, iPhone, none of which they have actually paid for. So to sit there and think, well, there's no way a socialist is ever going to get elected in this country. Would you like to bet money on that? Do not underestimate Bernie Sanders. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And Mr. President, please don't think if this is your competition in the general election that it is an immediate slam dunk. I get it. It should be. We got a rockin' and rollin' economy right now. But you know what history does prove? And I did stand in a classroom and teach history for nearly 20 years. You know what history proves? People don't learn from history. In fact, Americans are the worst at it. We have this habit that when we are in crisis, we will do anything, we will sacrifice anything. Just please fix it. And it is amazing how once something is fixed, how quickly we forget what created the problem to begin with, and we go right back at it. I had an opportunity to serve at a ministry in the state of Florida for 9 years. In that ministry, they were in financial crisis. And myself and a couple of financial managers worked to reverse things in that ministry. And one of those financial managers that ended up leaving that ministry to go on and do other things said to me on his way out the door, Marty, my fear is this has been a ministry that for years has been bleeding money. And he said, I have no doubt that right now they want to make changes because they want the bleeding to stop. They want the pain to stop. But I'm not convinced yet they're ready to change their behavior so that the pain and the bleeding doesn't come back once we get it to stop. And sadly, that's America. We were in trouble, real trouble, when Donald Trump took office. We had zero growth under Barack Obama. Jobs were leaving and going overseas. All of that has been reversed under Donald Trump, and we have the lowest unemployment since 1969, and the lowest unemployment for minority Americans, that would be black and Hispanics, ever. Now is a great time to be invested in the stock market. It is a great time economically. This is even better than the Reagan boom. Which is why I'm scared going into this election. We've already forgotten, and you have a generation of young people, they aren't invested in anything anyway. Everything's been given to them. So, hey, a politician that's just guaranteeing it's all going to be taken care of and that we will magically figure out how to pay for it as we go. They have no concept what a place like Venezuela is really like, what a place like Cuba is really like, what any of these socialist nations which have toppled to the ground because they can't afford to pay for all of this free, because free ain't free. So don't think this is a slam dunk. We are going to have to do everything we can to not only turn out our support for the president, but to make sure trying to educate young people on this is getting to be almost pointless. We're going to have to make sure that the rabid enthusiasm from the Bernieites and the yin-yang weirdo gang doesn't become so over the top euphoric to the point of, we can finally have the utopia we've always wanted. Stay resolute. Stay focused. And don't think that once we can finally put impeachment behind the president, that the Democrats are just going to, well, we've tried. That's it. Now let's just get ready for the election. No. This is going to be a slugfest from now until November. Stay engaged, stay prayed up, and be ready to step up. And remember, fight the good fight. Hey, thank you so much for watching this rant. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like. We continue to see our subscriptions slowly climb. Thank you for your support. Thank you for spreading the word. Keep doing it. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're still subscribed. Make sure you've smacked the bell for notifications. Make sure you've checked the word all. Otherwise, YouTube will decide which notification to give you and which ones not to. Let's see. How about none of them ever? Check every day your status on any channel on YouTube that you like, that you subscribe to. Check your status every day, because it's one of those ways YouTube likes to be helpful, like unsubscribing you from things that you want to be subscribed to. That said, you have a great rest of the day and another rant on the way.